Hello, and you're very welcome to episode 318 of Treaty Talk. It's Tom Clancy and Matt O'Callaghan again to discuss all the action across Gaelic games in Limerick this past week and to look ahead to yet another busy week on the inter-county stage across all four codes the weekend coming. But Matt, before we get into the teeth of the action and discuss it with our guest Mark Foley, unfortunately we've had a few bereavements around the county, particularly in your neck of the woods in South Limerick this week.
Yeah, first of all, on behalf of all in Treaty Talk, I would like to pass a vote of sympathy to the Ryan family of Mitchellstown down Knocklong on the passing of Pauline Ryan. Now, Pauline Ryan was the widow of the late J.P. Ryan, better known as Jap, who was an absolute legend in Limerick hurling over the years. And the level of involvement that Jap or JP gave to Limerick hurling and Gareth Spillane, it couldn't have been possible without the support of Pauline, who backed him all the way and made an enormous contribution to Limerick hurling. And as I said, with Gareth Spillane and with Limerick as selector for many, many years at different levels, made a huge contribution. And members of his family are continuing to do so. So we'd like to offer our sincerest condolences on the passing of Pauline. I would like also to pass a vote of sympathy, probably arguably to one of Limerick's greatest, if not greatest footballers, John Kiely, on the sudden passing of his father, Timmy, in the last few days, and whose funeral will be taking place on this Thursday. Timmy in his own right was a very, very good footballer with Anglesborough and Galtee Gales and Galtee Rovers. Great footballer back in his day. So John didn't pick it up off the ground, but he passed away unexpectedly on yesterday morning. And I would also like to pass a vote of sympathy to the McGrath family of Anglesborough, the four lads that play with Galtee Gales, the Shanahan family of Ballylanders, and the Wallace family of Glenrue, all who have played. Mick Wallace has played inter-county with Limerick, on the passing of Julia Shanahan, who has huge GAA connections, as I said, with the McGraths, the Shanahans, and the Wallaces. May they all rest in peace.
Okay, yeah, perfect. Thanks, Matt, for that. Okay, let's talk GAA now, and let's bring in our guest, Mark Foley, in just a moment.
The impression again we get out with what you put into it's like a walk of life. If you're good enough, go out and get it, no more about it.
Not so much control in the centre of the field from Kilkenny as Richie Bennett sends it high and over the bar.
Your mother sends you down to the shop for a pound's worth of goods and she gives you 50 pence. You can't get the pound's worth of goods, can you?
Just about kept in. Oh, well done, Shawnee Buckley. To do that to Tomas O'Shea, he deserves to score from here. One of the highlights of the Sunday game.
Limerick went out there from the word court today. No more about it. They made all the running, that was it. Put the ball over the bar and attacked it, and that's it. No ifs, no buts.
Is there much time left? We have a couple of injuries. Here comes Kieran Carey. Carey leading the charge of the right brigade. 45 metres out. He's a chance to score. He's put it hard.
There's no sympathy in this game for anybody.
Okay, I'm delighted to say we're joined on Treaty Talk this week by former Limerick hurler Mark Foley. And Mark, when I was chatting to you last weekend, we were hoping to review a battle with Kilkenny, but of course the weather took care of that. So I suppose we're probably here to look ahead to a meeting with Clare this weekend. Disappointing, of course, we didn't get to see Limerick at the weekend, and I suppose they're now facing the prospect of 4 weekends in a row, it looks like. The Kilkenny game has been fixtured Saturday the 15th back in Nolan Park. So an interesting dynamic now developing with 4 games in 4 weeks to conclude the league stage.
Yeah, sure. I suppose, look, everyone was disappointed that the match was called off last weekend. A lot of people had travelled down to Kilkenny on the night before. And some were actually on their way that day as well when the news came through that it was called off. So obviously a disappointment. It's always nice to go down and test yourself against Kilkenny. But look, events that happened with the weather and that, we've no control over that. So the lads will just have to get on with it. And even though it's a fairly hectic schedule now over the next few weeks, I'm sure they look forward to that as well, because there's some big challenges coming down the tracks. And we probably know a bit more about ourselves in terms of team selection and all of that when we conclude the league, or the group stages of the league. But it's certainly a lot of fare in the next month or so to whet the appetite.
Yeah, there is indeed. Yeah, and it's Clare this Sunday. Clare, first time in 7 years they've lost three competitive games in a row. I don't think they'll over be concerned by that fact, but nevertheless, it's a Clare team now, I suppose, on the brink of relegation from the league. So it's very much an interesting dynamic coming into the Gaelic rounds on Sunday, that Limerick have the potential, I suppose, to relegate Clare, who are obviously great rivals of Limerick for many, many years.
Yeah, well, Clare coming in, I suppose, really wounded. Like at this stage, the league hasn't gone well for them, and not that the league was their top priority, but they certainly wouldn't have wanted to be at the stage they're at now with no win. They've tried a lot of young players over the league. In fairness to them, I think probably unfair, and so many of them been in at the one time, which is very, very difficult when you're trying to break into that scene. I mean, like maybe 3 or 4 max players, younger players, trying to find their feet is probably the ideal scenario, along with a settled team. But there's been so many of them thrown in at the same time. I actually saw the first game against Kilkenny, and I was impressed by them. But after that, they've kind of flattened out a bit, and I suppose it culminated in a very poor performance against Wexford last weekend. But again, you're back to the same thing, and I suppose I know myself from being involved in it. We played Clare down through the years when they were in the ascendancy, and we were going poorly in the league. But when it came to it, then there was only always a puck of a ball in it. So yeah, Clare won't fear coming into Limerick at all. They like playing Limerick, even though we've had the upper hand in them over the last few years. But they need a performance this weekend, whatever about the result. They really need a big performance, because this thing is coming down the tracks very fast. The championship is only a matter of weeks away, and it's about probably time that all of the teams, not only Clare and Limerick, but all of them, start showing signs of a bit of form. And the guys given the chances, then the younger lads, they really need to be performing over the next few weeks to try and nail down a place on the team.
Yeah, Matt, what to you?
Yeah, I suppose the team that was selected and was beaten surprisingly by Wexford at the weekend, Mark, was the first signs of bringing back the All-Ireland members of the team. I think they had maybe 5 or 6 of them, and that's likely to continue on Sunday probably.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. I mean, and most of them, the guys, the experienced guys that came in, I don't think they went too well. I think Damien Reck probably looked after Tony Kelly fairly well, even though Tony Kelly started very well, and they were 1-4 to 2 points link up very, very early on. But after that, Wexford got a stranglehold. I think John Conlon probably struggled a bit as well. But that's a natural enough kind of a thing for an experienced player coming back. Might take a bit of time to find your feet and so on and so forth. And they've had a hectic winter as well, being All-Ireland champions and all of that kind of stuff. So I certainly wouldn't be overly fearful about Clare in terms of their prospects this year. I still think they're going to be very, very hard to beat. And obviously at Cusack Park in the championship, they're going to be extremely hard to beat. But yeah, I suppose the worry from a Clare point of view is that even though they've showed, real green shoots at underage level, they won an All-Ireland minor there a couple of years ago. Very good under-20 team there a couple of years ago as well. Probably could have maybe beaten Cork in the Munster final. Cork went on to win the All-Ireland, but I suppose bar the likes of Mark Rogers and a few of the other lads that came through, Conor Lean as well was very good last year. They probably would have been looking for a little bit more, maybe 1 or 2 more players to come through this league campaign. And so far it looks like, they haven't really developed in terms of the strength and depth, and it looks like a few of their players maybe aren't ready yet for that level of competition. So that would be a slight worry for Clare. On top of that, David McInerney got injured in the first match against Kilkenny, a hamstring injury as well, and he's had, sporadically he's had problems with those over the last few years. So, the main thing for Clare would be to get their best players on the field as soon as possible, try and develop a little bit of form. And I think if they do that, they'll still be probably they're going to be one of the big stumbling blocks to Limerick probably getting out of Munster, and Cork getting out of Munster, and certainly at this stage, Cork, Limerick and Clare, even though Tip are showing great signs at the moment and very impressive against Cork at the weekend. Probably a bit of a history there in terms of Tip, and I suppose Liam Cahill as manager as well, maybe of flattening out as the year goes on and maybe peaking a bit too early. So we'll see how that develops. But at this stage, Clare need to find a bit of form. And I think if they do, they'll be very strong contenders again this year.
Yeah, I think that's a point well made about the transitioning from underage success to into playing adult hurling, because like the foundation of Limerick success was how quickly they transitioned from All-Ireland under-21 champions. It was under-21 then in 2015 and 2017 into winning in All-Ireland in 2018. Mark, the fact that Clare won the All-Ireland last year and the fact that there is such keen rivalry between Limerick and Clare, it must be hurting an awful lot in Clare that they won an All-Ireland having lost to Limerick twice.
Well, yeah. I mean, you win your All-Ireland, you win your All-Ireland. I suppose it doesn't matter who you beat along the way, but definitely, I mean, it has to be a factor. Like, there's no Clare player, Clare management or anyone going to admit it. But the fact that they did win an All-Ireland, it's an All-Ireland and fair play to them, and they were worthy champions on the day, were excellent on the day. But the fact that they were beaten twice by Limerick, I'm not saying that it adds a stain to their All-Ireland or puts a stain or a mark on it, but at the same time, I suppose it would have been nicer for Clare to have beaten Limerick along the way, like to a soundly beaten in the Munster final. To be fair, I think the first round in Ennis, I think Clare were the better team on the day, but didn't put Limerick away when they were on top. And Limerick, showing their experience in the last quarter and a couple of shrewd moves with Gerard Hegarty going into the full forward line, really put the game away. But I think Clare, for the majority of that game, were the better team. So Limerick's recent history against Clare has been very good, bar the Gaelic grounds. I think the year before last were Clare, and I think that game as well, like maybe something that was overlooked is that I think Clare really had to win that game. It was a real knockout game for Clare. If Limerick beat them that night, well then it looked like it was going to be very difficult for them to come out of Munster, and I think their need and their want was a little bit greater than Limerick's that night. But other than that, like Limerick have kind of managed to get the better of Clare over the last number of years, and they'll be looking to do the same at the weekend. Like, it's a chance to get one over your probably your nearest and dearest, like on the run into the championship. And I'm sure Limerick will be looking to put Clare to the sword at the weekend. But likewise, Clare will come out fighting with all they have, and it promises to be your typical Limerick Clare derby with very little in it, and it will be almost like championship fare, no doubt, on Sunday.
Yeah, Barry or Mark, I should say. We saw Barry Nash, Mike Casey, and Declan Hannon listed to start against Kilkenny. Now, obviously, that's likely to shuffle or possibly may shuffle again. But refreshing and good, I suppose, to see John Kiely bringing these lads back in. They do have a lot of miles in the clock. They don't need to be slogging around in the early part of the season in terms of January. It is probably good timing to bring them back in. End of February, start of March. Trying to ramp it up for, as you say, the first round of championship is it's probably 7 or 8 weeks away now. So that's probably the logic there, is to get these lads slowly integrated back and get them back up to speed. I know Tom Morrissey's another one who we may see in time as well, who had been away and stuff like that. So you can see Limerick starting to the wheel is starting to turn in terms of cranking the thing up, heading into the big stuff.
Sure, yeah, no doubt about it, and it's great to see all those lads back. It's great to see Declan back and Barry back, and again, like, to get that experience of playing a couple of games in the league is vital, just to get up to speed, because I know, like, Limerick are in a very, very good place in terms of strength and depth at the moment. You have a lot of players who are very experienced, who are certainly in their prime. A lot of miles up, all right, but the hunger is still there. And then you have another lot of younger players coming through. So you're in that sweet spot at the moment where you have a minimum of 15 aside every night when you go into training. So, like, whatever about the league games, lads, I'd love to go into the 15 against 15 matches inside the Gaelic grounds and watch what's going on there, like, because I think that's where the real stuff is, in terms of your selection and that kind of stuff for the championship. And I'd say some of those matches are a sight to behold, to be honest about it. But we have a lot of players at the moment. I suppose things maybe didn't go according to plan last year, but we weren't far away at the same time. And I think everything can be fixed. The few maybe small problems we had last year, I think everything can be rectified. The only question mark is the hunger still there? Now, we won't find out that at the weekend. We won't find that out in a month's time. We'll only find that out, coming down the stretch in a knockout game. please God, like a Munster final or an All-Ireland semi-final or All-Ireland final is the want and the desire still there. I'm very, very sure that it's still there. But all the rest of the things you can fix. That's the bit you can't fix. That's inside in the players' bellies and inside in their heart. And I think it's still there. And I think, given the fact it's still there, with the younger players coming through, bringing that infusion of youth and freshness and vitality and all of that kind of stuff, I think Limerick are in a very good place for the year ahead. Of course, a crucial thing is, given the nature of the championship, and like we see the next month, there's 4 games in a row. You fast forward to the championship then, and you're having something similar. You could have, your 4 games in 6 weeks on harder ground. Well, then there is the likelihood you're going to pick up injuries. Now, we're well placed to cover that. But having said that, it's how you react when changes occur. And I think we're in a good place. We're in a good place in that regard, because you almost have a couple of options now, a minimum a couple of options in every position. And just a couple of things. Like, great to see Barry back, and Barry Murphy's back. I think, probably, to be fair to them, they're both stronger left-sided players. Like, so, left cornerback's a completely different position to right cornerback. So just interesting to see how that dynamic works. Also, Declan back, centre back. He's used to the ball. I think our use of the ball against Tipperary was really, really excellent. Declan will add to that as well. And again, it's given us more options going forward, and I think it's a good place to be for a Limerick hurler, Limerick hurling fan like myself and yourselves and Limerick supporters. It's a really positive vibe at the moment, and looking forward to the year ahead.
Yeah, Mark, you mentioned the hunger there, and it's certainly one that, as you say, we will not know where it is until much later in the year. But I think the fact that I don't know what year they're all born, is 2002 or 3. There's probably 10 or 11 of them now on the panel. The likes of Shane O'Brien's even younger again, but the likes of Adam English, Aidan O'Connor, Colin Coughlin. Those guys seem to be bringing in a freshness to the whole thing. I think I genuinely think there was something like 9 or 10 of them involved in one of it was the Tipperary game. Conor Andy Sack there as a goalkeeper as well. It's really it actually has refreshed itself, and there's real competition there now. Adam English, certainly in a lot of people's eyes, is well placed to start this year. But does that knock on the door of a William O'Donoghue or a Cian Lynch to just give them that extra spurt? And the same with the Barry Murphy going back cornerback. I'm sure Sean Finn and Mike Casey and the likes are kind of looking at that, saying, Jesus, what do I need to improve on here? And that's certainly how I think John Kiely was quoted as saying only before Christmas about trying to keep the building blocks in place, so that if this was in terms of management, that if there was a case where himself and Paul Kinnock stepped away, that there would be a freshness to it. He's refreshed the backroom team, so I think they put in building blocks there for this year and the year ahead. And obviously we all want immediate success, but certainly there seems to be a bit of a long-term vision there as well.
Sure, yeah. And there's, very good players coming through. Limerick have been, I suppose, relatively successful at underage level, and like a lot of the analysis that you read and you look on the television about, it's all based on what's in front of you. So perhaps we haven't had a plethora of young players coming through over the last few years. Like Shane O'Brien was excellent in the Munster final last year, but held back in the All-Ireland semi-final. Adam English held back, Aidan O'Connor held back. So people look at the team and say, sure, there's no young players coming through. But, I'd be very, very happy with the talent we have coming through. Probably lost in All-Ireland under 20. We should have won against Kilkenny a few years ago. We're very impressive in Munster that year as well. And some very, very good young players coming through. We mightn't have the same volume of players, younger players, as the likes of a Cork. But I think our good players are very good. We mightn't have a lot of good players, but we have a sufficient amount of very good players. And I think that's very important, because the intercounty level is another step up. You're probably better off with really having really elite guys, maybe a smaller amount of those, than maybe having a glut of, very good players that can't maybe settle, or maybe, they're chopping and changing because they don't know who's, what their best players are. I think we've about maybe 5 or 6 very good young players, probably ready. The argument is there, probably ready to push on last year. I think when they came on against Cork, just unlucky, a few wides, and that Aidan O'Connor had won, probably Shane O'Brien had won, but all very impressive when they came on, and I think they're ready to make the next step now. So again, that team will be picked inside in training, like, you know, when they play their matches. And you know, there's certainly huge competition for places, which is a brilliant place to be, because that really drives you on and drives that competitive instinct. It's very important in any squad of players that, you know, it ensures that no complacency, no laziness sets in, which is a natural kind of a reaction when you're kind of sure of yourself, no matter what you try to do to guard against it. There's no fear that's going to be there this year. And yeah, it's just about managing that then and putting out the best team on the day then, and that requires, you know, that requires you to be ruthless as well. And I'm sure we'll see that this year as well. So,
Mark, John Kiely has spoken over the years about the impact he's got from the bench.
Positive space, you know, a lot done and much more to do, but a good starting point.
Yeah, Matt, sorry, the signal is dropping here the whole time.
Yeah,
Matt, I'll let you in there again.
Yeah, but I was just going to say to Mark that John Kiely has spoken over the years quite a bit about the impact that he has got from the bench. Is it as much now about the finishing team as the starting team?
It is. It's a 20-man game. There's no doubt about that. But I suppose when you drill down into it, it's some players are suited to starting and some players are suited to finishing. It loosens up a bit, obviously, in the last quarter. There's no doubt about that. And the first quarter it's real helter-skelter, you know, and it's very physical. So there are probably players there more suited to that at the start. And some players then, when it loosens up, you know, I suppose pace becomes more of an element then. And that's probably suited to other guys coming in. And I suppose the key thing is then, when you have that decision made, you know, in your panel, who you're going to go with, is the timing. You know, 5 minutes too late or 5 minutes too early can really affect the course of a game. If you're 5 minutes too late, you could be 7 points. There could be 7 points of a difference, you know. And likewise, if you're 5 minutes too early, so the timing is key. Now you've all this, you've all the various pieces of technology to help you in that regard now, in terms of GPS, and if fellas are gassed out and all of that kind of stuff. But I suppose there's a certain element of that too, in terms of looking at the opposition and see when they're flagging. When they are flagging, then that's the time to bring on the legs and to try and finish out strong. So finishing, like, is very, very important, no doubt about that. But starting is equally important. And even though there mightn't be the same volume of scores maybe at the start as there might be in the last 5 or 10 minutes, it's absolutely critical that those battles, especially in the middle third, that you front up to that and try and win them if possible. And I suppose maybe different players required to start and to finish maybe.
Mark, I suppose coming into the league now, and this is a question about the league as a competition. Like, if you were to base predictions on form of last year, midway through the league, I think there'd be very, very few people that would have predicted Tipperary top, Clare bottom. I think it would probably be the last option of people. What does it say about the league, and what does it say about the level of seriousness that counties are taking, or, you know, the effort that they're putting into the league? They're just using it as, you know, a continuous audition for places for the championship.
Yeah, I suppose every county is different in their outlook. Obviously, Clare won the All-Ireland last year. I think the main goal for them this year was to try and get a few younger players up to speed and bring a bit of depth to their panel. Tipperary was a completely different story altogether. I mean, beaten by 18 points by Cork in the championship last year, unheard of really for in the history of Tipperary hurling. Their real goal this year was to get back, start playing to the max of their ability, start gaining a bit of respect back, and they've done that. You know, like, the worry from a Tipperary point of view then is, you know, how close are they to their peak, or are they at their peak? But they're definitely different goals for different counties. Obviously, Limerick's was, you know, start bringing all those younger players through, maybe starting them. Another big goal, of course, with Nicky's unfortunate injury was maybe to get a bit of consistency in the goals and that kind of thing, get their players fit and healthy. I don't think there's a hell of a lot wrong with Limerick last year. It was just a bit of tweaking maybe, and developing that little bit of depth, in that you had more options as starters maybe than what we had last year. Cork, their main aim obviously is to get a bit of depth. They're looking for new players. I think the young Mullins, he was very impressive last weekend. There was a sub came on as well, half hour. He was good as well.
Dermot Healy from the school.
Dermot Healy, yeah, he's only a young lad, 20 years of age. He was good as well. Other than that, probably don't look, I think, to have found a hell of a lot outside of that. Again, they're probably suffering from a problem in Cork now for maybe a good few years, in that they have a lot of players very similar. Whereas no real, we'll say, top drawer fella that you can say, right, can you hang your hat on this fella centre back or centre forward, and he's going to dominate the game, like, you know. But having said that, this time last year, Cork, I remember watching Cork and Ennis against Clare. They were absolutely terrible. First half against Kilkenny down below in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, they were terrible, and people were saying, Cork was struggling because they had most of their championship team out, and yet the thing turns very, very quickly. So I think it's building blocks. There's no doubt about that. You can't be showing your hand either, but it's important to give most of your panel game time and see what they're about. So in that regard, I think most counties will be happy. I think Tipperary will be extremely happy because they're probably ahead of schedule, even though that question mark is there about peaking and so on and so forth. Limerick will be very happy. I think the match against Tipperary was their best performance in quite a while. And, the big thing was that, a lot more experienced players really look to have the hunger back. And that's a huge plus going into a campaign, like, that guys are up for it, mad for action and mad for road, and they're really, really hungry to go on and be successful again this year. So obviously Clare will be disappointed, but Clare made a decision maybe to go with a lot of younger players, and that can be a dangerous strategy at times. I mean, it worked for us in 2018 because we had an outstanding bunch of players coming through at the one time. But generally in the history of sport, that hasn't worked very often. Knock Cork did it in '99, Kerry did it in the football back in the 1970s, brought through a load of young fellas. Clare, I suppose, 15 bachelors in 1995, but doesn't work very, very often. I think that Clare probably found out that this year, and that it's very difficult to bring a lot of young lads on at the one time, especially like they haven't won an All-Ireland underage and that. So I think most of the counties will be happy. Kilkenny probably not overly happy. I saw them in a couple of games. They weren't overly impressive, but they're still going to be very, very difficult to beat when it comes to it. But again, just putting my Limerick hat on again, I think we're very, very happy the way things are going. And as long as we don't get any injuries and we keep that depth to the squad, the ability to kind of prepare for the championship and go in and having these lads test each other in training, week on, every week, I think, the prospects are positive anyway.
Yeah. Tom?
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah, the thing with Cork, and just to pick you up on a couple of points there, the Cork, you're right, there are probably a lot of winning underage teams, but sometimes you can be casting your net maybe too wide, whereas I think in Limerick, we probably knew the Adam Englishes were coming, the Aidan O'Connors, Cathal O'Neills, they'd been earmarked for a long time, but maybe in Cork they probably they had 7 or 8 guys and they couldn't decide which of them was going to kick on from there, and I think the Clare point is interesting. All right, maybe Brian Lohan probably looked at players in this year and said sink or swim, and some of them haven't been able to get to the level just yet anyway, so that's the challenging.
Sure.
You mentioned injuries there, and you mentioned the Nicky Quaid scenario. It's definitely a talking point, and it will continue to be for Limerick, as in until we certainly know who is the established number one. And look, it's a baptism of fire for the two men that are looking to take the jersey. It's probably a decade, I think, since Barry Hennessy deputised for Nicky Quaid, so we're kind of used to Nicky Quaid being number one on the championship team. So what have you seen from the two lads so far in terms of their suitability to this level of hurling? They're obviously two good club goalkeepers, as we've seen, but are they ready? And I mean, do you see anyone with their nose in front for that jersey at this moment?
It's hard to know, really. Hard to know what's going on. Like, obviously, I've seen the lads playing with their clubs over the last number of years, and they're both outstanding players, I suppose. Look, very, very difficult to pick out any negatives over the last number of years. It's been a fantastic period for Limerick and Limerick hurling. We're very, very proud of what the lads have achieved. I suppose just nitpicking, if we were to pick just a slight negative, it's just that maybe the option wasn't really developed. So I suppose at this stage, maybe Jason Gallan I know Dave McCarthy played down in Cork a number of years, maybe 4 or 5 years, and that hasn't happened because Nicky has been an ever-present really. So we're probably having to play a little bit of catch-up now. But the lads, the matches they've played have acquitted themselves very well. And a horrible night down in Cork. Jason Gallan was very, very good. And, much like Shane, a fantastic striker of the ball, very long striker of the ball. Over the last number of years with Patrick Swell and with Mary on the Fitzgibbon Cup, he's been outstanding. And Shane, since he's gone back into the goals since he retired for an Piercic, has been outstanding as well and was very good against Tipperary. So I'd be quite happy with the two of them. They've shown that they're well able for it. I think they'll get better with time as well. Just being exposed to that environment, the training, and then the matches as well, and that kind of pressure that comes with it. The better players will rise to that, and both of those have very good temperament. So, different strengths. Probably both excellent free takers. I think they both present probably an opportunity from long range frees that maybe Nicky didn't, especially on the odd chance that Diarmuid Burns is going to miss one or two, which is what happened last year. Either of those present a viable second option for long range frees. I suppose you're going to see maybe as we come down the stretch in the championship who's going to probably get the nod. And the big thing then is when you're in the championship, is hitting your men, because the puckouts is probably the big thing nowadays with inter-county goalies, being able to hit your men and to see things as well. But that'll be rehearsed over and over again. So I have every confidence in the both of them. They're two very good lads, and whichever one of them comes through, the best of luck to them. They're more than well enough capable of filling Nicky's shoes, and I suppose we wish Nicky the best in his recovery as well, and I believe it's going very well. So I think Nicky will be back sooner rather than later too.
Yeah. Well, that's always good to hear. Yeah, I think look, at the moment it's neck and neck. But if I was to put my head in the block with nothing at all, but just my gut feeling, maybe Jason Gallan might land there. But I tell you, there's plenty of hurling between now and then. It's going to be a tricky one to decipher. Mark, last one for me. I suppose people may be familiar with you speaking Oscaoilige, and hearing you on TG Cahir, you're enjoying that coverage, and you get to see other counties, of course, up close and personal, which is no harm when it comes to when they're playing Limerick, and you probably have a bit more knowledge than maybe the rest of us who are only sitting back on the couch. But you enjoying that? It's a fabulous package that TG Cahir, I think, put together for our games, hurling, football, ladies football as well later in the year. It's great exposure, and it's what hurling needs, I suppose, is to keep in people's minds is this coverage on national TV.
Yeah, and in fairness, I'd have to give great credit to TG Cahir, even though I do small bits and pieces with them, like their coverage in general over the last however many years, since even when I was playing there, we wouldn't see a lot of matches put for TG Cahir on the TV. As when they came knocking on my door and asked me to do a bit, I had no hesitation whatsoever, because for the simple reason, like most of the matches I do are Limerick matches anyway. And as I said to the lads in TG Cahir, sure, I'll be at the games anyway. I go to most Limerick games. Since I finished, I rarely miss any Limerick games, to be honest. So I love going to the games. I love going to all games. I go to the Cork match at the weekend now as well, on Saturday even, and I really look forward to that as well. So, over the weekend, like when the hurling gets going, if there's nothing on in Munster of a Saturday, go to a Leinster Championship game, and I just love the game. I think it's a fantastic game, and really love it. Even at club level, you go to 3 or 4 matches of a weekend. It's a fantastic product, and I suppose sometimes when you're immersed in it, you don't realise what a product we have. It's a really, really brilliant game, and I think it's getting better and better. The skill levels, the athleticism, the amount of effort that goes into it now is really, really a sight to behold. It's fantastic, and I think we should cherish what we have, and to be able to add to that with TG Cahir and give the couple of focal as well. I'm only too delighted to do it. So long may it continue now, lads, and please God, we'll have a good year with Limerick this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt, anything else from you?
Yeah, well, no, I hope they'll keep you busy on TG the Cahir, but I have absolutely no Irish, Mark. But I listened to it, and I tried to decide. I tried to translate. I'm a Taoiseach man, but you can't but admire the amount of coverage that TG4 TG Carr, is it? TG
That's it.
Carr.
Gary, yeah, well, yeah.
Give to Gaelic games. It's absolutely fantastic across the codes. Absolutely fantastic. And
they deserve great credit. And in fairness to them, like it's a completely different setup to RTE. Like it's kind of running a shoestring, and they're not afraid to get stuck in. And you have a lot of people multitasking. And I think the thing that really amazed me was how many people, were involved in the whole production before I went into it, and they're great guys, and I'd have the highest regard for them. And I suppose just this year we're lucky like that. There's a good few Limerick games. I think I'm doing the Clare game now with Carl King on Sunday, so there'll be a lot of Limerick propaganda and for those who can understand on TG Carr on Sunday.
Good.
And I think we're doing the Galway game as well, which is on the Saturday night. So it's brilliant this year now with so many Limerick games on television. Obviously, I'm biased and wearing my Limerick hat again, but it's really, really good. I love going to the matches, and what I really love about it as well, lads, is the fall of the year when you get into the club championship. Like you can't beat the old club championship because, like, no matter what, no matter who's playing in the club match, they're all trying 100%, and they're really giving it everything, like in those knockout games, county final, all that kind of stuff. It's really fantastic. You'll continue.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
It's actually most unusual in Cork on Saturday, Mark, in that it's a triple header.
Sorry,
we lost you, Mark.
I was just saying to you, Mark, it's unusual in Cork on Saturday in that it's a triple header.
Sorry, I missed you there.
The Kilkenny Cork game is the middle of a
I just got it there.
triple header.
The schedule there, and they're fairly busy at the weekend. Cork and Kilkenny are playing on Saturday.
At 5.
Then you have Donegal and Derry on Sunday, 1:15. You have Limerick and Clare, and then the third one you have You have GA Bjorlina, which is online. You have this is fantastic altogether. So on you have Thurles CBS against is it
I saw it.
Someone from Galway, I think. Yeah. Then you have St. Kieran's, and then you have Athenry, and then you have St. Patrick's, St. Pat's Mahara, and then you have someone else as well. Then after that, so you have 3 matches from the colleges online over the weekend as well. So
But what I was saying to you, Mark, is that it's a triple header in Páirc Uí Chaoimh on Saturday.
All right. Okay. Who else is playing that?
Football as well.
Cork and Roscommon are playing in the ladies' football at 3. Cork and Kilkenny are playing in hurling at 5, and Cork and Roscommon are playing in the National Football League at 7.
So you get fair bang for your buck there now.
They must know something about the weather that we don't know.
Yeah, I tell you the pitch, the Super Value pitch will be under pressure.
In fairness, 3 matches, like Matt, I suppose you'll all join me in saying, like, whoever goes to those 3 matches, you're definitely getting super value for money.
Well said, Mark. Well said.
It was teed up there long ago, but yeah, Mark spotted it before I did. Very good, right? Okay, I think we've covered plenty there, Mark, and thanks very much for your time. And indeed, we're wishing you the best with your club at there. I know you're involved this year on the senior hurling side of things, and of course, I'm sure we'll see you at a Limerick game or 2 as the year progresses, and hopefully we'll be watching. Maybe not Declan Hannon this year, but a Limerick man at least heading up some steps to collect some cups later in the spring and into the summer. I'm sure we'll all agree on that. So, yeah, thanks a million, Mark, and we'll chat to you soon.
Thanks very much, Mark.
Okay, and that was Mark Foley. Apologies, a couple of technical issues there, I think, on my end more than anything. But it's a busy weekend anyway, Matt.
Oh yeah, wonderful to have Mark on as a guest. Like the contribution he's made on the field as a player, the contribution he makes off the field as with his club and being involved in management of clubs, and of course the contribution that he's making as a pundit is simply phenomenal. These are the guys that are the real pulse of the GAA.
Yeah, and I think when he retired at the time, he was Limerick's record championship appearance holder, I believe. Now, since been surpassed by a number of players, but that's format changes have probably.
That's because of format changes. Because Mac played in the knockout era, basically.
And I still think he clocked up. It was nearly 40 championship appearances, and there was many years there where Limerick only had 2 outings or 3, maybe. Sometimes, and an impressive innings at a wing back for Limerick. Okay, so that's 3:45 p.m. at the Gaelic Ground Sunday, Limerick and Clare. And I think if people don't know already, these two certainly like to dance. They mightn't like each other, but it should be entertaining, fair, and a possibility of Limerick relegating Clare. We won't preempt their demise just yet, but certainly there's a possibility of it.
But just in terms of team selection there, Tom, I'm just wondering, notwithstanding the fact now we said that Sean Finn, Kyle Hayes, William O'Donoghue and Garrod Hegarty are injured. Is there a likelihood? In my opinion, I think John Kiely will probably name the team for Kilkenny.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or will we look at it and say this is Clare?
Yeah,
I think the temptation would be to name the team for Kilkenny. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I suppose we don't really have form for this. Limerick and Cork in that co-op Superstores game last year. Limerick did name 3 different teams for the 3 different fixtures, as far as I'm aware. Now that's to do with training loads and time of year and availability of players.
It had to do with the Fitzgibbon Cup at that time as well.
Yes, of course. Yeah. So look, it's interesting to see. But look, I think it won't be a million miles away. I put it to you that way, Matt. It can't be a million miles away from that, because I'm sure he wants to.
Very pleasing also, Tom, on the Kilkenny selection to see Eddie Stokes getting another run was fantastic.
Yeah.
And really, what was really happening as far as I was concerned was to see Cathal O'Neill having fully recovered and being able to come in from the start, which was absolutely fantastic, because
absolutely,
he has had a difficult start to the year. It was probably his last Fitzgibbon Cup, and it was absolutely great that he got to play a part in the final. Maybe only a cameo, but the unfortunate injury that ruled him out of Limerick and ruled him out of most of the Fitzgibbon Cup was most unfortunate, and great to see him back.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there was a case of his hamstring going in the final 20 minutes of the league final in the colleges in December, and then he got to play basically the final 20 minutes of the aforementioned Fitzgibbon Cup. Otherwise, hurling, Matt, of course, that's the intercounty side of things. I think we have SMI in All Ireland action.
We have SMI and we've Kildimo Palace Kenry both in All Ireland action.
Right, and we have
SMI. They're playing St. Patrick's Keady.
Yeah, St. Patrick's
from Armagh, and 'tis on Saturday at 2:00 in Haywood Community College, 3G, Balnakill, County Laois.
Right, very good. Well, it was 2:30 last I saw. Is it 2? Is it 2 or sorry? Is it 2:30 or 2? Sorry,
it's
2:30. I think 2. Is it okay?
It's 2, and I fancy their chances now. The Armagh lads are the Ulster B champions.
Right. Yeah. I presume the Armagh lads are the main hurling school in Armagh, and I'd say that with no knowledge, but perhaps there isn't many schools participating at colleges level in terms of hurling. So they've obviously went and won the Ulster B. The Ulster A, I presume, is dominated maybe by Antrim and Down and maybe Derry.
Yeah, the Ulster B, the Ulster A didn't come into the college's B championship.
Right. Okay.
Because it was in the year that John the Baptist won the All Ireland Senior B. It was an Ulster school that they beat in the final.
Yeah. So look, it's difficult to say, but certainly you saw enough from SMI in the Munster final to say that they will be very, very close to result here. They have some talented players, experienced players, and they have a shrewd management duo as well, I think. So
very, very shrewd management who've done a fantastic job on them, and I think it'll be 3G. If 3G will probably be disaster turf, isn't it? And like Kevin O'Brien was saying to me after the game against Newport in the Munster final, that was their first game on grass for a while, because they had run up very big scores in the knockout stages of the championship in the quarter-final and semi-final, and both of those were playing on AstroTurf. So it may just suit them, but were they to get to an All-Ireland final, they're in a very, very good place to have being able to adapt to both surfaces. But having said that, I will definitely be very disappointed if SMI come Saturday afternoon and not through to an All-Ireland final. To me, it will be a surprise, because I've seen them and there's so much to like about them as a team, and they have a lot of players like with inter-county experience. Like, for instance, there's two of the under-20 panel in it, Patrick Cagney and the current under-20 panel, and Dermot Lyons. There's a number of the minor panel. There's a number of the Celtic Challenge panel. Others who have come through the under-16 ranks. So, like, it's a very they have a very, very good cast. Let's put it that way, and very, very well prepared. It was the one thing that struck me, how well prepared they were, and how adaptable they were. And the solid, the foundation of any great team, of course, I suppose, you have to get scores, but you have to prevent them as well. And they have an outstanding defence as a unit with some top class players in it.
Okay, yeah. So that's Saturday for the hurling. Also, Salesian College of Ballyskenry are in action. You have the fixture there. Sorry, I don't actually have it to hand.
Salesian College.
Did you say that to me earlier? No.
Sorry,
am I mixing up schools? Who's that?
But I said Kildimo Palace-Kennery.
Oh, sorry. Of course, yeah. I'm staying on the hurling trail. My brain is frazzled here, Matt, at this time of the evening. Kildimo Palace-Kennery, yeah, in Munster. Sorry, in All Ireland final.
All Ireland Junior B competition final on Saturday in Park Eden, Efa, Rahina, 2:00.
2:00. Okay. Now we mentioned them winning tight games, Matt. They decided they wanted to do another one last weekend, and they were reeled in again, but not enough. Yeah, they were.
Yeah. That seems to be a characteristic of the team. Now they can make history on Saturday by becoming the first Limerick team to win the Munster and All Ireland in the same year.
Right.
Now,
we've had lads winning the Munster and lads winning the All Ireland, but they could never do the two. They lost the Munster to win the All Ireland.
Doon were beaten by Killinall in the final, in the Munster final, and reversed it in the All Ireland final, and won Lean did the same last year. They reversed it.
Yeah.
So
third time lucky.
Let's hope that Campo White haven't any ambitions of reversing it. Could Kildimo Palace-Kennery be on the receiving end of that situation? I don't think they will. I've been very impressed with them, and the one worry, of course, is that in the 3 games to date, like they've built up what should be nearly match-winning leads, only to be reined in and having to defend it and battle it out. Like in the Munster final, it was just a spectacular hoop by Enda Considine that prevented Anthony Barry from. Well, he still had John Chalk to beat, but he had an open shot.
Evan Considine, Evan Considine, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Evan Considine, it was who
Sorry, Evan Considine.
Yeah. Give him his due.
my apologies. He got in a spectacular hook and prevented Anthony Barry. Now he was only a couple of yards out from John Chalkers. He was about to pull the trigger, So it was that close, and they won it by 2 points. And but they will have learned a lot from it, and I'm sure they will have learned a lot to, as to how to police Anthony Barry. No, they did a good job on him that day, and they'll hope to do a better job on him because he's their key man. And of course, Roger Ryan got 3 goals in the Munster final, and Roger will be hoping to repeat that.
I think he was the first player in the competition to get a hat-trick of goals.
Yeah, I'm not sure of that now.
I think I'd seen that reference there online. I don't have that. That's second-hand information, but I think he might have been the first player to find 3 goals in the one game in the competition, which is, it's
is fantastic now, and there were quality goals now, in fairness.
And of course, he of all people should know the Kappa White men quite well, being from Doon.
Yes, so. And then he will be enthused about putting the second one over on him, being from Doon.
Yeah. Oh well, he wouldn't spare it. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's Saturday, 2 p.m. You said in Rahina, isn't it? 2 p.m. throwing. Rahina, sorry, 2 p.m. throwing. Okay. And we might as well stay on Junior B, Matt. We'll come to the inter-county football in a second, but St. Kieran's narrowly beaten in last Sunday in their Munster semi-final, and I know we jokingly about the Ballybrown record, but we did have aspirations for St. Kieran's getting to the final at least and potentially going all the way, but came unstuck against the Cork side.
Yeah, and a difficult day for football, and strong wind and all that sort of thing. I thought it was kind of a day that it wouldn't be on, although I was in Ballygrand the previous day for the Camogie game, and the pitch was in excellent form, and it withstood whatever happened overnight on Saturday night. But desperate disappointing altogether for St. Kieran's, because right from the outset of this competition, I felt anyway that St. Kieran's had a real chance of being the second Limerick team to win that competition. Now, I saw their first game against Rowan Moore, and it's a game best forgotten because the St. Kieran's didn't come anywhere near the type of form that they had shown in Limerick. And, it was a spectacular kick at the death last Sunday that deprived them of extra time anyway. It was low scoring because of the prevailing wind conditions, 7 points to 6. And but it was a kind of a spectacular, possibly in the Hail Mary category point that knocked them out of the Munster Championship. But they certainly have represented their club and their county very well in the competition, and it was a pity that they didn't see it out.
Yeah, so they head for the junior A ranks next season, the 4th tier of Limerick football, and obviously looking to kick on from there. And obviously some of those players will have aspirations of playing senior, and maybe playing this competition will serve them no harm at all. Matt, just before we turn to intercounty, just to mention in passing, Conor Garvey of Mungret will be the answer to a quiz question in years to come, potentially. Certainly a very niche quiz question. He's the first player in Limerick to score a 2-pointer. In terms of club action, he scored it in early enough in the Mungret St. Paul's and South Liberty's game in the in the Junior B Football League. That game was brought forward ahead of I suppose the rest of the schedule. I think at the request of South Liberty. So Mungret got off the league action after the winning mark.
They won it by 10 points to 7.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like a classic, although the weather was so poor over the weekend. But yeah, Conor Garvey.
I didn't know that there was a 2-pointer in it. So, Tom, you're a mine of information.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to thank Fintan Hines, the new Mungret St. Paul's chairman, who was tweeting about it, and he put up the information. The first 2-point under the new rules in Limerick, Conor Garvey kicking a free after 19 minutes. So well done to Conor, and I'm sure there'll be many more to come before the year is out. A little bit of history, although you never know, that rule could ever be changed or taken away. We don't know yet. Not set in stone. But we'll see how it plays out. But just to mention the leagues across the grades starting this weekend. And of course, the leagues since COVID been run on a bit of a regional basis. So kind of you've City and you've West and you've City East and South and stuff like that. So
there's a lengthy fixture list for this weekend spread out over Saturday and Sunday. Now the games on Sunday are early, obviously, because of the Gaelic rounds, and rightly so. And they're also early on Saturday because of Mick Neville Park at 6:30.
Yeah, and that's where we go next, Matt. I think the Limerick senior footballers, 2 wins in a row. We were waiting and waiting for a league win, and they got one in London. So they had one away on foreign soil, and they decided they were to end their hoodoo on Irish soil, and a victory in Netwatch Cullen Park in Carlow, and a deserved one by all accounts. And 2-pointers were the team here. Josh Ryan kicking 2 of them, a free in the first half, which was worth 2, and then he kicked a nice one, which some people may have seen on the Sunday game in the second half. And I think it was a goal from James Nocton early in the second half that kind of just rubber stamped Limerick's superiority.
The goal immediately after half time was the crucial score. In that it set Limerick up, and they didn't look back from it. But it may represent a big turnaround on the face of it, but certainly the green shoots of a turnaround were there, Tom, in Longford. And I thought for the most part, I was at the Wexford game, I thought for the most part that the green shoots of a revival were there also. But what it all means now, of course, is that we have put ourselves in a position now. This is the same permutation that exists after the Wexford game. After the Wexford game, there was only one permutation to save Limerick's promotion hopes, and that was win the next 5 games.
Right,
we're
so
halfway there now.
Yeah, 40% of the way there, if you want to look at it that way.
So it is now win the next 3 games, and suddenly it's becoming more manageable.
Yeah. And just to mention, Matt, Tipperary were beaten last minute 2-pointer, I think it was, last kick of the game, basically, by London, and a very rare victory for London away from home. And that really has kind of blown this group wide open, and Limerick now looking, up the table at Wexford rather than having, looking up at a plethora of teams. And it's going to make this game in McNeville Park, 6:30 p.m. on Saturday evening. It's going to make it a big opportunity for both teams, and Limerick have that pep in their step now.
It's such a big game now at this stage that neither side can lose it, because Tipperary have now dropped 3 points. Yeah. Up to last Sunday, they'd only dropped 1 point, a draw with Carlow in the first round. But now they've dropped 3 points, and Limerick have dropped 3 points. So basically, in terms of the league and in terms of promotion, it's almost a de facto knockout game.
Yeah.
Because the possibilities, I was looking up, Ma got promoted from Division 2 in 2019, I think, with 9 points.
An absolute rarity, I think it's fair to say.
An absolute rarity. So, whoever loses in McNeville Park on Saturday evening is going to be down 5 points. Yeah. And, it's really, really handing the initiative to the victors on Saturday evening. Now, after that, Limerick they have a tough test to go to Wicklow, and they'll finish the campaign with a home game against Waterford. But Limerick will be sitting pretty on Saturday night if they beat Tipperary, which I think they probably will.
Yeah, three wins in a row here. Really, sorry. Go on.
Yeah, because Tipperary haven't rooted up any threes. The fact that they had 3 points, or 4 points. They had 5 points. Tipperary have 5 points. We've played 4 games. They've lost 1 and they've drawn 1. They drew with Carlow. They beat Waterford. They lost to London.
I'm just Longford as well, was it?
Yeah, beat Longford. I think. Yeah. Beat Longford. Yeah. So, it's going to be a massive blow to the vanquished on Saturday evening, because basically it will be, your league hopes are dashed, and because Wexford seem to be the runaway winners or likely winners to top the table, but I think Limerick have a good chance of joining them.
They do, yeah. Well, Limerick wouldn't object, I suppose, to Wexford winning out and winning their 7 games. It wouldn't do Limerick any harm anyway if Wexford took the points off everyone. Obviously, they've already beaten Limerick. So, yeah, let's see how it plays out. Big game for Limerick's league prospects. just as mentioned as well, Danny Neville came back, kicked a late point. Peter Nash, I
Yes.
think, came off the bench. Great experience on that Limerick bench now. All of a sudden, now I
Yeah,
don't
and
think
Robbie Childs came off and came off and got a score. So
yeah.
like as I was saying to Mark Foley, there is it as much about finishing as starting.
And well, Limerick
Um,
have finished strongly, Matt, in the last two games. They didn't finish
They
well
have.
against Wexford, but have finished strongly to pull away from London and to pull away from Carlow. And look,
Yeah.
they're probably not two of the stronger teams in this, but like games are in the melting pot, and Limerick can trust the experience on the bench will get them over the line, and it has bared fruit in the last two games. They've really finished like trains in both games, and looked very comfortable winners on the scoreboard in the end. Like, so it augurs well. They're finding a winning formula, which had eluded them for so long.
Yeah, and of course you've lost 17 league games in a row now. All right, you won Tarleton Cup games and all that sort of thing, which broke the sequence. But it was still going into the league campaign. It was something that was a monkey on their back, no question about it. And now that it has ended and that they got the first win in London, and now they've backed it up with back-to-back wins, both away from home. Like you can see, like the addition of Danny Neville is going to be huge, and like we said, the light of Peter Nash coming off the bench, Tom Childs coming off the bench, like Jimmy Lee seems to have a bounty of riches this year, and like you can only imagine the confidence that's oozing through their veins at the moment, having back-to-back victories to their name. There's no substitute for it, and I think they will go into the Tipperary game full of confidence. Tipperary will be rocked and shocked by the defeat to London.
Yeah, and by all accounts, London worthy winners. It wasn't a smash and grab London, but from what I read from the Tipperary reporting, it seemed like London were the better team throughout and had left it later to get the win. Limerick did win 3 games in a row last year in the Tarleton Cup, and I think along the way they beat London and they beat Tipperary. So hopefully that's an omen for what's to come. It was awfully on the other occasion in that 3 in a row, but hopefully Saturday night another 2 points will go a long way to pushing Limerick back up that table and looking for the immediate return.
The goal is becoming larger on the horizon. If you win 3 games, you're up to 7 points. 11 is the target. You have a home game and then you have an away game and a home game, and you know exactly what you have to do. And you also know with 2 rounds to go what the state of play with the other counties is. And whilst there's an absolute imperative to win on Saturday night to maintain hopes of promotion, I think Limerick are going to get it. And then there's a bit of a break in the league, I think, is that till the
there'll be catch-up games as well. There was a couple postponed across the divisions as well last weekend, so they'll be caught up upon, and we'll have a good clear picture probably in about 10 days time where everyone lies with regards to this Division 4 campaign. Elsewhere, Matt, you mentioned McNeville Park there, and you mentioned Paddy Carroll Park in Ballygran last Saturday, and in terms of Camogie. And the Limerick Camogie side, unfortunately, weren't able to back that victory that they secured in Down the previous week. They weren't able to back that up against our old rivals, Antrim. And it looked like Antrim were they relatively comfortable winners here? Is that fair to say?
They were comfortable winners, but they were not 9-point winners.
Right. But remind me, what was the score again? It was 2.
It was 210 to 7 points. Just to give you a brief reprise of the game. First half, stiff breeze. Now you could argue that it was curling a bit or swirling a bit. It was blowing down towards the church end of the village end, if you know Ballygran, and Antrim got a goal in the first minute, and they had the advantage of it. Now Limerick dug in, and 2 of our newcomers, Donna Kenny and Laura Southern, they got very, very good points in the first half. But at halftime, we were 172 points down. When Antrim got the goal with the breeze, you said to yourself, "Here goes." There could be a rout here, but far from it. Limerick really, really dug in, and in the third quarter, Limerick put over 4 points in a row, and now mindful of the fact that they were 8 down at halftime, but that brought it back to 5 because Antrim had got a point. They got a point. It was 9 points. Limerick were 9 points down 5 minutes into the second half, but then hit 4 very good points in a row. Quiver Costello hit a couple, and Sophie O'Callaghan hit one. It just escapes me now who hit the other, but they were good scores now, very good scores, and they coincided with the time when Joe Quaid he brought 3 or 4 players in off the bench, and they made an impact, and given the fact that as many as a full team, you could say as many as 14 players weren't available to the squad this year for different reasons. I thought it was promising. I thought the new players were promising, I have to say. And they did well. And just as we're thinking of it, and the 14 players, want to wish the best of luck to Marion Quaid. Marion, of course, was one of the 14 players that's not available this year. She left for Australia yesterday, so on voyage to Mairead and to Marion, and the very best of luck. So what a wonderful servant to Limerick.
Captain, of course, captain as well a couple of years ago as well. Like, was she captain last year? No, not captain 2 years ago. Yeah. So a great servant.
I was encouraged by the performance. Look, it's going to be a challenging year for Limerick, make no mistake about it. And it all comes down again to, what I describe as the asinine format of a championship that they have.
Yeah, well, before they get to the championship, look, we don't even need to go over that today, Matt. But it's challenging.
It's annoying, but I think we're going to be quite safe in the league. We're not going to lose our status or anything like that. We beat Down in the first round. Down went to Westmeath last week and won convincingly there. So it would look at this remove, even at this early stage, that Westmeath are probably the team in trouble, and they have to come to Limerick in the last round. So,
Wexford and Clare will they'll be tougher tests, and I think the Wexford up next. So, I suppose the
Wexford are up next, and Wexford have lost 2 games.
They are only by a point against Clare, I think, at the weekend. So, and
a point against Antrim. The first day. After being 8 points up, Antrim came back in the second half and beat them 14 points to 2-7. And Clare beat them by a point. I think, was it 14 points to 110 or something, 15 points to 111 or something like that. That game was in Enniscorthy. So the Limerick game on Saturday is in Enniscorthy, and that's at 2 o'clock.
Okay, yeah.
So we have a lot of Limerick action starting at 2 o'clock. It's going to be a busy 2 o'clock on Saturday.
Yeah. That's the Limerick senior camogie side. The minor side, Matt, they've obviously...
the minor side are playing Wexford at 2 o'clock. This Sunday in Mick Neville Park at 2 o'clock, as I said, where a win would actually guarantee him the semi-final spot from the group.
I think it's... the winners go to semi-final, is it?
Yes, and 2 and 3 go to the quarterfinals.
Yeah, well, I think it very unlikely. They're very unlikely because Wexford have won a game as well, so they would, it's 3 points for a win, so they'd be on 6 points.
Yeah. Wexford have won a game. Wexford have won a game very handsomely against Clare now. They had a big win over Clare, which tells you that Wexford are strong. And I was looking it up and following it up, and there seems to be high hopes in Wexford this year for that team.
Yeah. That was 4-14 to 1-5 they beat Clare, and obviously a reminder that Limerick beat Galway by 2 points in Temple Glanton a couple of weeks ago.
112 to 110.
Yeah, so it's a big opportunity, Matt, to try and get into the knockout stages. But as we say, Wexford look to be a strong outfit themselves.
They do. You must remember that we were in the All Ireland Shield final 2 years ago when we got beaten by Antrim, and it is very, very measurable progress. But the team is essentially it's managed by Dermot Ryan and his management team that won the All Ireland under 16A last year. But the whole nucleus of the team, Tom, is members of back-to-back Munster under 16A Munster winning teams plus the All Ireland winning team of last year. So it is a very, very strong team now. And I saw him in the first round. I was very, very impressed with the way that they disposed of Galway. And like Galway at minor Camogie, they're what you call one of the specialists in it.
Oh yeah, one of the leading nights all the time. Yeah, so that's a great start. Yeah, so look, it's McNeville Park this Sunday 2 p.m. against Wexford, and then they conclude the group stages with a trip to Clare, venue TPC, on the Sunday the 16th of March. So Paddy's weekend. Chance hopefully Limerick will be heading into that game with their 100% record intact, but hopefully they'll be able to make the knockout stages and continue this great journey that this bunch is on. Matt, anything else?
Just ladies football. The game against Carlow was off, of course, and we're going to Laois this weekend, which is going to be a very, very tricky assignment. Laois suffered a double relegation last year, Tom. They were relegated from Division 2 to Division 3. And they were also, and this is one of the vagaries of ladies football. They were also relegated from senior football to intermediate football. Okay. So, like, they're an intermediate championship team. We're a junior championship team. But we go there on it's a place called Ballylinen, I think. Is the name of the place.
Never heard of it. Couldn't point to it on a map, and don't know any pubs there either. So
it's on at 2:00. Now, Laois are one of the leading contenders in the league at the moment. They have won 3 of their 4 games. The only game they lost was to Louth, and they've beaten Carlow and they've beaten Offaly. Can't think of the third team they've beaten. But in the 4 games, Tom, they've conceded 15 goals.
And they've still won 3 of them.
Now, they conceded 6 to Louth on the opening day.
Okay, but still conceded an average 3 goals in the other games and won them. So they must be scoring pretty heavily themselves.
Yeah, they've run up good scores, but not as big a score against Offaly as we did, as far as I remember.
Right, okay.
They have the benefit. Now, it's going to be a busy week for them, because they go to Laois on Sunday, and then on the following Friday night they go to Dr. Cullen Park to face Carlow in the postponed game, and that game is on at 8:00.
Okay, right. So they'll be hoping there'll be no major injury woes from the first game to carry into the second one, because it is a quick turnaround. You rarely see that at intercounty level, 5 days. Between games. But look,
I'm not so sure now that I haven't spoken to him, but Mike Quilligan and Sean Kiely will be happy with this, the way events have transpired, that Carlow game was off, because they would have their schedule of matches prepared and their team prepared accordingly, and now they're confronted with this thing of playing 2 games in 6 days. People have probably said to me, "You've gone mad, so what? 2 games in 6 days," but I think the sequencing...
2 away games as well. 2 away games.
I don't think the sequencing will suit them.
Yeah. No, certainly not. Yeah, I think if the second one was at home, it would be a little bit more appealing. Yeah. But yeah, it's not great. But look, that's they might use that as motivation to just prove maybe how fit they are, how strong they are, how deep the panel is. And
I think they have a chance of getting something in Laois. There's no doubt Laois, all right, they're on a downward trajectory. I think they only picked up 1 draw last year in the league, and here they are now. They've picked up 3 wins, which is fine,
I think there was, to the best of my memory, I think there was a bit of trouble in Laois with players committing to the county team last year. From
there was a change of management in mid-term.
That was it, yeah, and there was.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. So look, they're all probably singing off the one hymn sheet maybe this year. But look, it's an opportunity for Limerick to show what they're capable at this level and try and build on that Offaly victory. So that's this weekend. Limerick on the road to.
But just on a positive note for Limerick ladies football, the under-16 team got the Munster Championship campaign off to a winning start in Father John Ryan Park in Martinstown last Saturday when they beat Clare 4-6 to 3-6. I think at 3-6 to 2-6. But they won by a goal anyway. John Doyle is the manager, John, who plays with St. Kieran's. And they're off to a winning start, which is congratulations to them.
Yeah, very good. Well done to John and the girls, and we'll keep an eye on them as the season progresses. Okay, Matt, anything else? A or B at this juncture?
No, Tom.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, well, thanks again to you, Matt.
B now is my dinner.
But dinner's calling. Well, folks, thanks for tuning in. I'm sure we'll be seeing you either at McNeville Park over the weekend, or plenty of games on there, or indeed we may see you at the Gaelic on Sunday. We'll be chatting to you then, and we'll see you next